Congressman, this is about labor unions. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that there are now about 2 million fewer members of labor unions in the U.S. than there were 15 years ago or so. And that in 2009, only 7% of the private sector workforce were union members. Why do you think there's been such a precipitous drop in private sector membership? And if you believe that's a problem, why is that a problem?
Well, John, one of the things that we do notice is that our great industrial nation, well, in the second half of the last century, was built on the industrial foundation of World War II, cheap energy, new highways, and a significant manufacturing base that created middle-class prosperity, powered this economy, made in America, meant something. And over time, as our trade policies have allowed for our jobs to be shipped overseas, where labor rates were cheap, there were no environmental controls, and as tax policies have allowed outsourcing of our jobs and actually provided incentives for companies to ship jobs overseas, the middle class has been clobbered, and we've seen a decline in union membership and organized labor. I think that the right of people to form unions and have a voice in the say of management is an important right, and one that has helped create prosperity in this country. So I think it's important that we make sure that there are provisions in place that help support fair bargaining and fair labor standards. Ms. Ayotte, I think, espouses policies which would take us back to some other time when there wasn't that kind of right for fair labor standards for people to form unions. I think there's been a really good place in our society and in building the middle class and bringing prosperity for organized labor.
You're a co-sponsor of the Employee Free Choice Act, I believe, and what's wrong with allowing the continuation of the secret ballot for unionization as opposed to what critics are calling a way for so-called union boss intimidation? And how would that help rebuild union strength in this country?
Well, John, actually, what the Employee Free Choice Act does, it doesn't eliminate the secret ballot. What it does is it ends the employer monopoly on how unions can be formed. Right now, essentially, employers have a veto over the workers who may want to form a union. So what this law would do is it would level the playing field. It would give an alternate means to form a union, one that is efficient, one that is effective, and it would also stop abuses of all kinds, whether it's by labor unions or employers, abuses in that organizing framework. So it ends the monopoly of employers. It creates fairness. It doesn't end the secret ballot. It gives an alternate approach. I think choice is the essence of American society. It's something we cherish and care about. It puts choice into the organizing scenario. I think that's a good thing.
Okay, John DeSouza, Kelly Ayotte, please.
Ms. Ayotte, is it okay that this is happening in terms of the labor union, the weakening of organized labor? Why do you think that has happened, number one? And is it actually something that is good for the economy or not?
Well, you know, in terms of the Employee Free Choice Act, which Congressman Hodes not only supports, but he's a sponsor of, let's be clear, it removes what I think is a fundamental right of democracy, which is for people to go and confidentially decide to cast their vote, whether it's to be a member of a union or whether we go into the ballot box and decide who we're going to support. And that bill takes away that right from workers, and it's absolutely wrong. That bill is wrong in the approach as well because it essentially imposes mandatory arbitration between the employer and the employee of a third party deciding who the contract's going to be. And let's just call this for what it is. We know Congressman Hodes is very supported by big labor in his campaign, and that's why he has to be a co-sponsor of the Employee Free Choice Act. But it's a misnomer. It's not about free choice. It's about taking away workers' democratic rights and making a confidential vote. In terms of unions, people should freely be able to decide whether they want to join a union or not in this country, and that bill really interferes with that right. Second, in addition, another example of how Congressman Hodes has supported policies that hurt employers here in New Hampshire. We had a Job Corps project that was scheduled to come to here in New Hampshire, and essentially he supported a project labor agreement requirement on that at the Federal Department of Labor. And what ended up happening is New Hampshire contractors that are relatively ununionized weren't going to be able to bid on that contract. And it would have been out-of-state contractors building a Job Corps center here in New Hampshire. That's an example of Congressman Hode's pandering to big labor rather than focusing on creating jobs here in New Hampshire, which is where our focus should be.
What's your own view of the labor union? Do you think, again, that it's something that's time has passed, essentially? Is there a way, should there be a rebuilding, a re-strengthening of the union, especially in this time when the middle class is having a difficult time?
Well, I think that people, again, if workers in this country want to join a union, they should have the right to do that. And that's always been a basis upon whether workers want to organize. And certainly unions, when they were formed in this country, served an important purpose in terms of worker safety. But again, this is an issue of whether workers want to join. But we need to make sure that we have pro-growth policies in place. And we can't go so far as to take away people's confidential right to vote to whether to join a union, to pander to the leaders of big labors. That doesn't help workers. Thank you, Ms.